Well, I've owned this 2015 Cayman GTS since 2016. I bought it from Porsche North Scottsdale, and I paid $74,900. I was just coming off my 987 Cayman S. I had to sell it because I moved and I needed the money, and I was looking for a fun sports car. And this was on there with just under 15,000 miles. I'd wanted a 981 Cayman for a long time, but I never thought I could afford a GTS. And so I plunked down. I bought this sight unseen. I had seen the photos, of course, but the dealership told me that the person who spec'd this out and bought it brand new, he liked to bring this to the dealership every Friday to get it detailed and sip espresso and look at all the new Porsches while he waited for his GT4 to arrive. And then it did, so he brought this back to the dealership, turned it in, and I loved it.
Great cars, great roads, and all the reasons we love to drive.
TV, web, and podcast. This is Everyday Driver.
I've looked up valuations on this car, and they range from an 80,000 mile 2015 GTS for about $64,000, all the way up to a low miles under 15,000 mile GTS for $80,000. So I'm confident if I got rid of this car that I could at least get my money back out of it. I've toyed with the idea of selling this car, but every time I get close to taking photos and posting them and deciding where it should be listed, I find myself dragging my feet. In 6 years of ownership, I've done annual oil changes, so 6 of them at this point. But aside from replacing the rotors and pads in the front and doing the racing fluid in the lines, I've done nothing to this car. It's just run. Because we drive so many cars for the show, this is still just under 30,000 miles, and I admit that that's not a lot in 6 years. We've been driving a lot of other things, and we preach to drive your sports car. So here I am, I'm out driving it. But yes, it should have far more miles on it than it does right now. I'm giving myself a pass just because we have other cars to drive, but it feels so good to be back in this. Every time I've started to drive this car hard, when I get back in it, I've thought, yeah, it's about time to sell it. And then I drive it hard again. And I'm wondering why I'm even entertaining the thought. Well, how's the PDK? If you believe everything you read on the internet, you're not a true car enthusiast unless you have a manual transmission sports car. Well, I wanted to try it. I wanted to know what it was like. I didn't think I'd keep the car this long, but I really do like it. There is a reason that Porsche puts the PDK in all of its RS spec cars. You noticed? They only come with PDK. It's so intuitive. It is the best on the market. You know, of course, I still want a manual, but it's fun to let it think and also to shift it yourself and enjoy how fast it shifts. It's amazing. So what's wrong with the Cayman? If you watch our Cayman Generations piece, we drove the 987 Cayman R, this car, the 981 Cayman GTS, and the 718 Cayman GTS when it still had the turbo flat 4. And this turned out to be the fat pig of the bunch. Yeah, that's right. I loved the Cayman R way more than I loved the other two, and I picked this last. It was dead last. It's the heavy GT car of the bunch, and yet I still love driving it. The electric power steering still leaves something to be desired, but it's not like this is a bad car. It's not like it isn't engaging and fun through corners, and I love how it rotates. On this car, I like that it's completely stock, and I still don't have a front track camber adjustment. Theoretically, for as much as I track this car, I should. So that means it uses up tires. I should be running 18s because these wheels are really too big. They're 20s on this car. It eats tires like a dog that doesn't taste its food and just wolfs down hunks of meat. Like tire meat. My tire meat. You don't want to just put average tires on this car. You will instantly regret that. If you do, the tires won't be able to keep up with the capabilities of the car. I'm currently running the Michelin PS4s on this, and they're excellent, but a couple of track days and they're absolutely done. It doesn't have a nav system, it doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, it doesn't have a backup camera because this car was built before the mandate. There's not even a USB port anywhere in this car. In the glove box here, there's another power outlet right here, but it's just an aux port. There's nothing else. There's no USB anything. This also has the base seats. I wish for the carbon buckets, and these are good, but I wish for better seats. And then the painted air vent slats. A hand-painted option for $1,200. And the owner spec'd this and this trim piece in the same exterior color. For $1,200, you could spend that on tires. Why? I don't care. I could have tires instead of that, and here I still spent money on the car. But nevertheless, I bought it used and still got the slats. What's right with this car? Well, my favorite thing is how it waits for me. It pulls capability out of me, and it still offers me more continually. Yes, it's a fast car, despite its lack of turbocharging and only 340 horsepower, but there's still so much this car has to offer. Every time I drive it, there's something out there. It's like in Ford versus Ferrari, when Ken Miles, Christian Bale, said, "There's a perfect lap out there. Can you visualize it? It's out there." That's what this car feels like to me every time. He articulated it perfectly. I always feel like that when I drive this car. There's a perfect drive out there, and I chase it every corner. I love the weight shift. I love the neutrality. I love that it wants to pull good driving out of me. It's my favorite thing about Caymans. The interior has aged wonderfully. It's still very similar to the current Caymans, the 718. Just the shapes have changed, but the layout's the same. I like the door handles still better. I like the seating position a lot, and I love the headroom just because of the styling of the car. It feels airy and spacious, and yet it's still small. I mean, for me, this is still the right recipe. Right about 3,000 pounds, mid-engine, and it's got a Porsche badge on it. Look at these radiuses. Full, beautiful lines, some playfulness, especially that cutout around the rear taillights. It's just a beautiful shape. And look at the lights. Beautiful, clean, fun lines, full surfaces. Not even the 718 does this nowadays. Some of the lines on the front are too severe. They're almost too Volkswagen. From front to back, all the way around the car, every angle on this car is a money shot. This one, yes, all the way around. And everybody who looks at this car says, that looks beautiful. It looks like a lot of fun to drive. And then I say, just wait till you hear it. Might need a cigarette after listening to that. There's many more cars that have a lot more power. This is not a drag race car. It will get smoked by so many supercars. When you do get high speed, it just comes to life. Which would beg the question if I've had any speeding tickets, and yes, I have. The officer was very nice, complimented me on the car, and even though I was going above 90, they wrote me up for 75 and a 65. But I was cruising. I wasn't even thinking about it. And I looked down and then saw the lights in the rear view. But I continually say that if this is what we're going to do, I mean we, not just Todd and I, but we, the collective we, you all own sports cars, it very much is pay to play. Listen to that. Just makes me happy. I love that corner balance. I love how I can just pick a line. Car just settles and hangs on. It's so quick through corners. I haven't been in any accidents in this car, thank God. I'm very thrilled for that. But this car was parked, and somebody tried to turn a Suburban around in the middle of the street and backed right into the driver's door, right below the driver's mirror. It damaged the sheet metal on the door, and the paint had to be blended into the front fender, and it damaged the mirror. But other than that, Cascade Collision offers a lifetime warranty on their repair for this car. So it actually follows the car to subsequent owners. And even though you might think it would bring the value down on this car, I'm not worried about it. This car remains one of the big reasons that I'm such a fan of Porsche. I don't know if I'll ever have a 911. I've thought about it, and I do want 911s. I love them. The mid-engine Porsche is just so good. Yeah, there's cars that handle better. There's more information here. Okay, this car is still such a standout. Here's why I think the GTS is the best trim level of all Porsches and of any sports car. when we've taken this to the track, we've driven this there and then tracked it for all day long, 20 and 30-minute sessions, and then I take it back out and beat the snot out of it, and then I end up driving it home. I take it out of Sport Plus, and I'm comfortable, and I'm so satisfied because of the feeling that I've extracted the most out of what this car was designed to do. Every aspect of the car is at a 10 for me. From design and engineering, to build quality, to driving, to engine, the noise, how things work. It's what I love about Porsches. Every time I come up on people, they are not ready for this car. Oh, that's fast. This car has also proven to me that Porsches get better the harder and faster you drive them. I can't explain it. It's the strangest thing. I've thrashed this thing on track. I've let other people thrash it on track. And it just feels so tight and good and solid. Baby, it's been a long time. I've missed you. I've never bought a car thinking that it will increase in value. It's never been at the forefront of my mind, and it still isn't. Because if it is, then your car owns you. And I resolve to never let that happen. It's almost maintenance free, and it's held on to its value, and it drives really well, and it's my favorite color, and I love looking at it. Listen to that! That will never get old. I don't care how many electric cars are built in the future. That will never get old.